Hello, my spooky nation. How is everyone doing today? We are back with some more scary videos, creepy videos, interesting videos. This is Mr. Ballin. Police were too scared to go inside this house for mature audiences only. Yes. Alright, so let's get those lights turned off. Go ahead and get your device ready. Put on this beautiful face, and let's get a little scared.
The Chundawats were a big, tight-knit, middle-class family who lived in a cramped city in northern Delhi, India. For generations, their family had been farmers living and working out in the desert, but in 1989, their beloved patriarch, Bhopal Singh, decided it was time for a change. That year, he sold all of his farmlands and then used the money from that sale to move with his wife and his youngest son to the city. And over the next couple of decades, one by one, the rest of Bhopal's children and their families followed him out there to the city and moved in with him. By 2007, there were 12 Chundawats all living under one roof. They made their living by running a grocery/plywood shop on the first floor of their house. The store was quite prosperous, not only because the goods they sold were top-notch, but also because the locals just really liked being around the Chundawats. Bhopal was this big, friendly personality that took on a sort of fatherly role in the neighborhood, and so locals began calling him Daddy just like his family did. Bhopal's wife, Narayan, took on a motherly role in the neighborhood, and so naturally was nicknamed Mommy. When she wasn't taking care of her own family, she'd be outside handing out tea to workers on the street or looking after neighborhood kids. The rest of Bhopal's family, which included his 3 adult children, 2 of their wives, and 5 grandchildren, were also often seen down at the store, and they were highly regarded and respected as well. By all accounts, the Chundawats seemed like very successful and happy people that kind of had a perfect life. But in 2007, they would face a crisis when Bhopal died. Knowing how much he meant to that family, neighbors were concerned that the family would fall apart without him. But surprisingly, immediately following his death, it was like the family started improving in all aspects of their life. It was like an already perfect family got even better. They began working extra long hours at their store, and before long, they had earned enough money to open another store and put an addition on their house. They improved their health by changing their diet and cutting alcohol and tobacco out of their lives. Their children, who were already very gifted students, began studying even more and did even better in school. And the whole family, from the youngest to the oldest, became exponentially more devout. While neighbors certainly noticed these changes in the Chundawats, none of them raised any eyebrows. In fact, people were impressed. This incredible family has managed to come out of a huge crisis better off and happier for it. Little did they know that behind the scenes, something totally sinister was driving these changes. Fast forward 11 years to July 1st, 2018. That morning, like every other morning, locals began lining up outside of the Chundawats grocery store, waiting for them to open their doors. The Chundawats were known to be extremely punctual, and at 6 a.m. sharp every day, they opened those doors. But this morning, 6 a.m. came and went, and the store stayed dark and the doors stayed closed. People began calling the Chundawats, but none of them had their phone on. And so eventually, a 79-year-old neighbor decided they would just walk up the steps to the Chundawats' house and check on them themselves. And so up they went, they knocked on the door, they yelled out for the family, but nobody came to the door, everything was off. And so eventually, they just tried the doorknob and twisted it, and it turned. He swings it open, and he yells out the family's name, and as soon as the door flings open and he can see inside, he nearly faints. He backpedals, he screams, he runs down to the street, and he yells for someone to call the police. Luckily, there was a police officer in the area, and so very quickly they came over and they cleared the crowd out of the way that was forming at the base of the Chundawat steps. They were all looking up to see whatever this neighbor had seen, and before the officer actually ascended the stairs, someone told him what was seen inside of the house. And so he's mentally preparing himself for what he's about to walk into. He walks up the stairs and he pauses right before turning the corner when he's going to actually see inside the house. He takes a deep breath, he knows what he's going to see, he turns the corner, he walks inside, and he's still completely shocked at what he's seeing. He would only be able to stay inside of the house that first trip for about 10 seconds before he too turned around and ran out of there. He would say it was just too much. It was one of the worst things he had ever seen, and that he hopes he never has to see anything like that ever again in his career. Eventually, the police would go back inside the Chundawats' house, and after looking around, they would find 11 hidden diaries. And in these diaries would be the full awful story of what happened to that family. In the first few days following Bhopal's death in 2007, the family called a priest to lead them in a prayer honoring their lost loved one. And during this prayer, Lalit, who was Bhopal's youngest son, at the time he was in his 30s, he began chanting. And as soon as he did, the rest of his family stopped what they were doing and just stared at him. They couldn't believe what they were hearing. A few years earlier, Lalit had been in this horrible accident where plywood had fallen off of a shelf and hit him in the head, nearly killing him. He survived the ordeal, but the damage to his head left him unable to speak. But now, here he is chanting and speaking. And so as
this is getting weird. So, the patriarch of this family, dead, gone. Yeah. A child who got hit in the head with a very large piece of wood, hasn't spoken years, is now chanting and speaking while this priest is there. And he says the family just starts like thriving, doing better. They made a deal with the devil. Like Satan lives with them. Yeah. Wonder which one of them brought Satan into the house. Let's get to the diaries. Come on, buddy.
his voice grew stronger and stronger as he was doing this chant, the other family members just continued to watch him and listen to him, and then they began whispering to each other, "Daddy has returned." Following this prayer session, Lalit kept his voice, and he began keeping a diary, the first of the 11 he would ultimately fill. The first few entries in that first diary were fairly normal. They were just reflections on his day or on his life, but pretty quickly, the entries took a major turn. The first strange entry occurred on September 7th, 2007. To that point, Lalit had been writing in kind of narrative format about his life and whatever it was he was writing about, but it just kind of abruptly stopped, and in its place was this really deliberate instruction for his family. It said they all needed to get a black and white photo of Bhopal, their patriarch, and put it in front of them, and then pray they're able to rid themselves of their old habits. From this point onward, the diary entries became more frequent, and they stayed in this kind of strange instruction format for the family. It was like it was a growing list of rules for the family to follow. And the tone of these instructions that Lalit is writing out in this diary became more and more aggressive and punitive and hectoring. It was like the family was being punished. But the family appeared to obey all of these instructions. And this was because Lalit told his family that Bhopal had come back from the dead, he had given Lalit his voice back, and he had spoken to Lalit and explained to him that the reason he was back is because he wanted to save his family's souls. Lalit explained that at night, Bhopal would
What? Okay. So the boy who cannot speak, who now speaks, is writing in his my little diary, giving his family instructions on how to live their lives, saying that it is his dead daddy that's telling him what they need to do. And this family's just like, no, you don't need to see a therapist at all. We're going to believe every word you say, and that's how it is. Nah, I would hog tie him, drag his butt to the loony bin, and leave him there on the front steps. Nope. I ain't believing that mess. Nope.
Possess his body, and then using Lalit's body, he would write these instructions in the diary for his family to follow. And the idea was, if you follow these instructions, that will set you on the path to saving your soul. His instructions were at first just simple ways to honor Bhopal, but quickly they became really specific directives of how each of the family members needed to live their life on a day-to-day basis. There were instructions about which food they were allowed to eat and when they were allowed to eat it. There were instructions about which things they could sell in their store, and there were instructions on how to invest their profits, and there were countless instructions on how they should be praying and when they should be praying. Every night, just before 9 p.m., the family was instructed to stop whatever they were doing and head back to the house, and if anybody asked them what they were doing, they were supposed to tell them that grandfather was coming. And so they would all convene in a room inside of their house, and they would wait, and then at some point, Lalit would walk into the room, he would sit down in front, and then right at 9 p.m., he would become possessed by Bhopal.
Okay. For one,
Was instructed to stop whatever they were doing and head back to the house. And if anybody asked them what they were doing, they were supposed to tell them that grandfather was coming. And so they would all convene in a room inside of their house, and they would wait. And then at some point, Lalit would walk into the
one, Mr. Miracle Boy right here looks like a creepy janitor. I don't know about you all, but I was taught never trust a creepy janitor. Ever. Creepy. Even his mustache is creepy. You can't trust that stash. What his family kind of needs to do right now is go down to the local hardware store, buy some chainsaws. Because if this little turd nugget here is getting possessed by Father, and now Father, who, never really evidently told them what to do, is now barking a bunch of orders from the great beyond. That ain't Father. No. No, it ain't. It's not. It isn't. It wasn't. It never will be. This little turd nugget here is just like, you know something? I'm tired of all of y'all. I want you to do what I want you to do. He probably could speak the whole freaking time, too. Probably just act like he could. And mysteriously, at 9 o'clock every night, oh, grandfather's coming. We need to go upstairs and listen to this creepy janitor tell us what to do. No. I'd chase him to the insane asylum with a chainsaw.
the room, he would sit down in front, and then right at 9 p.m., he would become possessed by Bhopal, and then Bhopal would lead a 15 to 30 minute long prayer. Eventually, Lalit began observing a vow of silence, and he told his family that if and when you hear my voice again, it's not Lalit.
And see right there. Now he's taking a vow of silence and not speaking again. He is up to something all the time. Maybe he killed the father. He's like, I'm tired of all this mess. So now he's taking a vow of silence. And when he does speak, it's not him speaking. It's Ghost Dad. I call Boo.
You're only hearing Bhopal. In the eyes of his family, Lalit was no longer Lalit. Lalit had become Bhopal, or I guess Bhopal had become Lalit. But either way, Bhopal was back, and so with the exception of Lalit's mother, everyone in his family began referring to him as Daddy. Over the years this went on, the neighbors did pick up on the family's strange behavior, specifically Lalit's strange behavior. but no one ever said anything about it because despite the weirdness, the family seemed like they were really flourishing. They looked healthier, they were making more money, the grandchildren were excelling in school, and they just generally looked really happy. And so fast forward to June of 2018, which is the month before the neighbor and then police officer sees this horrible thing in the Chundawat household. That month, June, was an especially happy time for the Chundawat family because one of the grandchildren had announced they were going to get married. And so on June 17th, they have this huge engagement party. The whole family's there. They're dancing for joy about this incredible announcement. And then they began shifting their focus to planning this wedding that everyone is so excited about. A couple of weeks later, on June 29th, the Chundawats had their neighbor over for dinner. And that neighbor would later say that nothing seemed amiss. And over dinner, all the family wanted to talk about was this incredible wedding they were planning and how excited they were to go to it. And this wedding was several months away. Less than 48 hours after this dinner, the Chundawats failed to open their grocery store, and so the neighbor goes up the stairs, he opens the door, and he sees 10 members of the 11-person Chundawat family dangling from nooses in the front hallway. They were hanging very close together in a circular pattern that looked very intentional. Their hands and their feet were bound.
That took a very drastic turn to the left, like, oh, everyone's fine, let's plan a wedding. Oh, they didn't open their store, I'm gonna go up, knock on the door, see what's going on. Oh, they decided to decorate for the wedding using their bodies. Oh God.
They were blindfolded with strips of cloth, their mouths were taped shut, and their ears were packed with cotton balls. On the ground underneath them were black stools that had toppled over. The 11th and final member of the Chundawat family, which was the 77-year-old widow of Bhopal, was found dead laying in a bed nearby with a belt right next to her. The initial thought by police is this was a mass murder, but after reading the last few entries of Lalit's final diary, they realized it wasn't. Lalit had convinced his family that just abiding by Bhopal's strict instructions that he gave them in the diary, that was not enough to save their souls. What they needed to do was participate in a ritual he was calling Vat Tapasya, which means worship at the hanging roots of the banyan tree. 8 days before their bodies were found, the family, who agreed to do this ritual, began practicing for it. And every night they'd work on binding their hands and their feet and then unbinding themselves, and they would tie nooses and put it around their neck, and they would tighten them, and then they'd loosen them and take them off, and they'd do it to each other until they were very good at doing all of those things. The day before their bodies were found, the family performed what's called a hawan, which is a ceremony of burnt offerings. And then afterwards, they ordered food and then tied their dog up outside. At 10 p.m., one of the grandchildren and her mother left the house and went to a store, and then were caught on camera walking back to the house carrying these black stools that they would later use in the ritual. Just after midnight, it was time for the family to get in position. The parents helped their children put on their bindings, they got them up on their stool, and they put their nooses around their neck and cinched it down tight and told them to wait. And then afterwards, they did the same thing to themselves. At this point, Lalit's mother most likely realized she was not able to climb up onto the stool because she was hurting or she was tired, and so a decision was made to move her into the bedroom. And so she, along with Lalit and Lalit's wife, Tina, walked into the bedroom, and once she was laying down on the bed, Lalit put a belt around her neck, and then he and Tina pulled on it until his mother went still, and then afterwards he took the belt off, put it next to her, and then Lalit and Tina casually walked back towards the front hallway where the 8 other family members were now in position. They're blindfolded with cotton in their ear, they have their noose on, they're just waiting, and Lalit and Tina walk around the room kicking their stools out from underneath them. And while their family slowly asphyxiates all around them, Lalit and Tina bind up their wrists and their ankles, they get on their stool, they blindfold themselves, they tape their mouth, they put cotton in their ears, they put their nooses on, they cinch them down, and then they both jump. The very last line in the final diary that Lalit kept, it says, "Keep water in a cup. I will appear and save when color changes." This ritual was supposed to allow the family to see Bhopal in person. Lalit told them that as soon as they were hanging, the skies would open up, the earth would tremble, and Bhopal would walk right into the room and save them from their death. And they were going to be able to prove that he was there, because not only would they have lived through this ritual, but also Bhopal was going to change the color of the water in the cup that was left out near their bodies. The family had even left left the front door unlocked to make it even easier for Bhopal to come in and save them. The Chundawats were not committing suicide. They believed they were going to survive this ritual. This is why just 2 days earlier at that dinner with the neighbor, they were eagerly talking about this wedding that was off in the future they were planning because they believed they would get to attend it, even though they knew in 2 days they'd be performing this Vat Tapasya ritual. Ultimately, investigators closed the case as a mass suicide, citing the cause as shared delusion. So that's going to do it, guys. If you found the secret in today's episode, let us
Kind of messed up. Oh, God. I don't even know what I I have no I what do you even say about something like that? Hey, let's all just hang ourselves so this ghost dad can save us. Oh, Lord. I don't even. Okay, not that that doesn't make. Okay, that makes no sense to me. It doesn't. Like, I get the fact that you probably are really tore up about the fact that your husband, your father, your grandfather is gone. And now someone who could never speak before is telling you to do all this stuff, and you're prospering, you're thriving, life is all the sun will come out tomorrow and all that good stuff. But I would not hang myself and hope and pray to whoever that this ghost spirit is going to come and get my big butt off of any rope. No, I mean, I, you believe in what you want to believe. That's all fine and dandy. But there's a point where common sense should outweigh certain things like mass suicide. That's just me. I mean, eh, I'm not one to knock anyone's beliefs in any way, shape, or form, but that's It's a little much. I mean, yeah, let's move on now. Yeah.
Hello guys, tonight we
Alright, this is King Frostmere. Scary videos that have chilled us frosty. No, I'm still speechless. They even went out and bought new stools to kick themselves off of.
want to take a look at some more mysterious and possible inexplicable recordings again. And now without further ado, let's buckle up and stay frosty. This video submission stems from Treya Autumn Wolf, and she told me about a channel called Hunting the Dead. Apparently the owner of the channel is documenting a haunting that is taking place in his own home, and some unseen force is messing with his whole family. The following are captures that his CCTV cameras could record, which are placed in the whole house. In particular, there's a lot of mist activity that can be captured in the living room, oftentimes when only his kids are around. A little bit eerie, to be honest.
Okay, they could just be cooking something in the kitchen.
I mean, isn't that significant?
There's a kitchen table.
What makes them manifest a little?
I mean, Nah. They literally could be just cooking something in the freaking kitchen. Because you can tell right here starts the kitchen. There's a table. They could just be down towards the bottom down here. Cooking something on the stove. Steam going up. Don't give me that. Don't give me that.
Right in front of that camera, I wonder. And there's also a lot of orb-like activity in his bedroom, and I don't think this is dust.
Why is this man laying there like that? I mean, look at his face. What is she saying to him right now? Look at that face. He's like, oh yeah.
Orb-like activity in his bedroom, and I don't think this is dust. What's your opinion?
Nah, it's dust, cause you can see.
And apparently they also like to pull the blanket in the middle of the night.
You can see it.
How mean.
Because it was just everywhere.
And like many paranormal enthusiasts, he makes contact with the entity via a Ouija board, and this sometimes can go south, as you will see here. Is it a malevolent force that he is dealing with in his house? What are your thoughts? Maybe even demonic? Or maybe something that remains there from another time? Check out his footage on his channel. I've put the link in the description.
I don't know. I don't know about that. That thing flew off there in such a way. There was probably magician string attached to it. And whoop. Probably one of his kids up underneath the bed. He's like, I'll raise your allowance if you get up underneath that bed. Pull the string. I'll raise your allowance if you get up underneath my bed and pull my sheet off it tonight. Yeah. You ain't gonna fool me. No.
This was captured by Claire X. Chalander, and it is a capture that apparently frightened her whole family. She reached out to the paranormal community for a possible explanation, and she states, "Can anyone pick anything up from this? My two nieces snapped it last night. There was no one else in the room, and nobody knows that person in the back."
Ah.
A really simple.
That is a creepy looking face. Looks angry. It's angry.
Sinister face can be seen behind one of her nieces in the back. It appears that it has an open mouth, and people pointed out that they can see teeth and a big nose. If we think about it, what could be the reason for this capture? Was there something else with them in the room that belonged to another realm? Was it a demon perhaps? Or just something in the background that they were not aware of? Although I find that a little bit unlikely. Let me hear your explanation for this. The following video is from the early 2000s and it was sent to me by Frank. He states that the clip was captured by a man who assumed that some paranormal forces were tampering with him and his family. This night he heard inexplicable noises, saw fast shadows in the corner of his eyes, and noticed that there were a couple of inexplicable cold spots in several areas of the house. He put his camera on a tripod in the kitchen, filmed towards the living room, and came up with this.
Yeah, you definitely see something come in like this way. And then just kind of. And it don't look like a shadow, like if somebody was outside here and with the light shining in. Like it would be casting. It don't look. I don't know. I don't know. That's intriguing.
So, at what are we looking at here exactly? Some say that it appears to be a spirit in a wheelchair that is rolling into the shot and then vanishes. Can you see that too? I wonder about the history of this older building. Maybe it was one of the former owners. Unfortunately, not much is said about who inherited this place before.
I didn't see no wheelchair. But I mean, I definitely do see it moving in.
But I find this clip truly magnificent, even though it's pretty dated. The following is a recording from user Fistelmom73 and the story behind.
What is that?
And it is quite unsettling to say the least. Fistel is recording an older photo that was taken during a Christmas concert in 2010. She was taking pictures of her son, and the whole family was reviewing the captures the night after that at home. They noticed that there seemed to be something peeking around the curtain in the background. That startled them, to be honest.
It's the ghost of Christmas past. Yeah. looks like an alien. I mean, it could just be a prop. Someone trying to play a trick. Could just be a prop from the school. Anyway, that's still a little on the unsettling side.
It looks like there's an apparition staring at the children with a sleeping cap on and possibly a nightgown of some sorts. Is it the spirit of an elderly lady? Their son stated that there was nobody in the back that was dressed up like that, nor were there any plays planned for that night. Also, notice the shining
The ghost of aliens' future.
eyes. How creepy. They never found out what it actually was. Maybe for the better. The next video was recorded by Angel, and he states that there is a building in his local town that many people say is haunted. And ever so often, a report comes in from friends or family members that claim that they have seen weird things that were going on in this building. He saw strange things as well in there, but could never really capture it. The building was converted to a supermarket, by the way. This night, a friend on the passenger seat of his car recorded while they were driving through the street in question, and while passing by the store, there seemed to be something mysterious that can be seen in the window. Let's take a look.
Oh, right there. Right there. That could just be a cardboard cutout of something. Or somebody left their kid in the store. It could happen. It could happen.
Apparently the store was closed around that time, which I believe. It looks like nobody remained in there after closing hours. Yet, some viewers believe that they see an elderly lady standing there. Could that be so? But how? Very curious.
Maybe they was robbing the store. Anyone ever think of that? And they're buying chainsaw fluid. You know, everybody needs oil for the chainsaw.
Sheila has sent me the following video, and it was apparently captured in the hallway of a factory. This building is said to be very old, and the only purpose of this camera is the video surveillance, since people tried to break into this place several times in the past. This night, the CCTV camera has captured something quite eerie in the basement of this building, after closing hours. Let's take a look.
What the heck is that?
There certainly appears to be an apparition walking around down there, seemingly peeking at the camera and then returning towards where it came from. But what was it?
It's like a crab walk. Back up.
Was it maybe a spirit? Or somebody that was still at the premises? Pretty unlikely though. What's your explanation?
I have no explanation for that. I don't.
The next video was sent by Annette, and she told me that the woman featured in it was just fooling around on her rooftop that night, and her neighbor was filming this whole incident transpire. Neri Kellerman, the woman that is featured in the clip, actually didn't notice anything strange that evening. It was just a goofy skit after all. But when her neighbor sent her the recording via Snapchat, she noticed that there seemed to be an eerie black mass standing right next to Neri, which was creepy enough for them to check the video, and there it was.
No, manches, ¿estás loca? ¿Estás loca, verdad? No.
If you look to your left, there seems to be a figure in a dark robe standing right next to Neri. And of course there was nobody else with them, so they seemed really surprised when they saw that creepy apparition right there. To this day, it's pretty much unclear what happened that night.
It looks like somebody wearing one of those scream masks.
Some people say it looks like the Grim Reaper. Would you agree? Maybe something else? The following recordings stem from CCTV cameras, and originally nobody saw anything strange. It was on second glance that security guards at 2 different locations noticed that something seemed off. And they should not be the only people that noticed that there seemed to be something going on that might not have been fully explainable. Well, let's see. Was originally discovered by a security guard that realized that something really strange was going on. Apparently there was a child standing on the parking lot when a car arrives, and then the weirdness begins. It is suddenly gone, vanished into thin air. And it appears that we can see it here the first time. And the driver must have seen it too, because he couldn't believe his eyes. He actually gets out of the car and gives it a second look. He wants to know where that kid went, but he's without luck. Now, what happened here? Was it the spirit of a child that was just standing there?
Now
If it was
that's
a real
weird.
person, how could he just vanish?
That's weird. Right there. That is weird. That's weird. See, where he messed up in the first place is when he got out of this truck, he didn't grab his chainsaw.
There's so much weird stuff going on in that video, I really don't know what's up with that.
It's a weird. I don't know either. Alright. That was King Frostmare. Scary videos that have chilled us, Frosty. Let's see. Alright, this is Nuke's top 5 scary ghost videos.
Top 5 ghosts caught on camera. Exorcism fail. Paranormal investigator Mark from the YouTube channel Donnie Drunkard believes his home in Canada is haunted.
That's no bueno. It's not good when exorcisms fail. That's no.
Haunted by a very dark entity that attached itself to him after one of his many paranormal investigations. He's seen and recorded unexplained shadow figures and terrifying poltergeist activity that has terrorized both Mark and his cute little dog, Terry. During 2 of his live streams, he points an SLS camera towards the storage closet in his basement.
Yeah, I got him. Hey, oh. Yeah, I got him. Hey, oh.
Whoa, I didn't see that.
Hey, oh.
You see the shadow
Now,
on the
these
door?
videos might have seemed familiar to you, and that's because I featured Mark's story on my channel before. Since these terrifying events, the supernatural activity in his home hasn't decreased one bit. So in his recent YouTube live stream, Mark decides to do what is called, quote, the Roman exorcism ritual. He recites prayers from a book in an attempt to cleanse his home of the evil entity that won't leave him and his little dog Terry alone. He broadcasts the entire exorcism live for his YouTube viewers to see.
That is just like the most adorable dog I've ever seen in my life.
He recites prayers from a book in an attempt to cleanse his home of the evil entity that won't leave him and his
It looks like a little teddy bear. Look at it.
little dog Terry alone. He broadcast the entire exorcism live for his YouTube viewers to see. It did not go well.
Exorcism.
That's okay.
That's not okay.
I'm gonna keep going.
That's
Mark's
not
REM pod
okay.
goes off, but he doesn't think much of it. He continues to read prayers from the quote Roman ritual book. That's when things get downright chilling.
O God of heaven and God of earth, God of the angels and God of the archangels, God of the patriarchs. Eyes upstairs. Eyes upstairs. Eyes upstairs. Eyes upstairs.
Whoa.
Eyes upstairs.
One of Mark's static cameras captures what appears to be a pale translucent figure walking in front of his television nearby. Some of Mark's concerned livestream viewers believe the figure actually looks like a monk, but it's a bit hard to tell.
I mean,
But what do you think this sudden creepy appearance could be? Let me know down in the comments. You can follow Mark's continuing scary paranormal story and live
it kind of looked like a monk. I mean, it was wearing white robes and all kind of like. I mean, yeah.
streams over on his YouTube channel, Donnie Drunkard. You decide. So this next set of videos features some very strange and creepy events. But if you're a skeptic, they could also be explained away with some fairly mundane causes. However, the videos are all extremely bizarre. So are these videos paranormal? Or just, well, normal? Let's watch and you decide. TikTok user and mother of two Jessica Duffy is not actually very active on TikTok, but there's one video taken by her Ring security camera that she just had to post. In the video, her 2 children can be seen joking about ghosts in the kitchen, quoting the Ghostbusters theme song. Now, I'm not sure exactly what started this odd conversation, but it seems like the ghosts might be listening. The 2 kids experienced something absolutely terrifying.
It had to say being scared of ghosts as they're screaming. Oh god. That was the win though. You see this plant here start to move, and this thing, whatever the heck it is, start to move before that door shuts. That was the win. But that was great. Watch. No, watch this plant. It's the win. See, that starts to move. It starts to move. But yeah, that's win for something. I bet they sleep with a chainsaw from here on out.
Well, when I said that the 2 kids experienced something absolutely terrifying, I meant terrifying for them. Because Jessica Duffy does not claim in any way that this footage shows anything related to the paranormal. It's very possible that this was simply a strong gust of wind that happened to blow the door shut at a comically perfect time. Or was it? Because only a few days later, something else happens that's a little harder to explain.
It sounds like Rosie did something.
The dog wasn't even having it. It's like, nope, I want out of this kitchen. That's great.
Well, like someone's in the house.
In another freaky turn of events, Jessica's ceiling fan in the very same room has a strange electrical short, causing loud popping electrical discharges and even a bit of fire, sending out a thick puff of smoke. The next day, of course, Jessica calls in an electrician to prevent a dangerous house fire. Now again, this might not be anything paranormal at all, but it's certainly a very strange phenomenon to occur just days after her children decided to taunt, quote, ghosts in the house. Or, you know, maybe it's just a very weird series of coincidences. As the name of this story implies, you decide. In another strange and possibly paranormal video, an anonymous urban explorer from the YouTube channel The Unknown Cameraman is exploring an abandoned psychiatric hospital in New York when he and his friends hear the unexplained sounds of something very odd inside the creepy old building. Even though YouTuber The Unknown Cameraman is an urban explorer and not a ghost hunter, it's obvious that the event even freaks him out. Now, viewers of the Explorers channel have mixed ideas of what this strange sound could be. Some say it's roosting pigeons in the building. Some claim it's the whooshing sound of an odd vacuum created inside the closed-off structure. And others believe it might be something paranormal. No one really seems to agree on just what this sound could be. But the real
I'm gonna throw my hat into the ring and say it sounded like someone chanting.
question is, why does the loud sound just suddenly stop all at once? Whatever this creepy sound is, it's definitely not something you want to hear while exploring an old abandoned mental asylum. Popular streamer Brian.
I wouldn't want to go there. Not like that.
And from the Twitch channel Daily Dasher travels the world and broadcasts his adventures live for thousands of people to watch on Twitch. In one of his many 6 to 8 hour long live streams, he is celebrating his birthday in Ecuador. During his live broadcast, his viewers are shocked when they see someone who seems very out of place.
Yeah, I'm a little confused too. But it seems like why is there a child here? He said that they close at 10, and it seems like that's what someone in the chat said, the curfew is extended, but it's till 10. So even though we didn't get the exact words out of his mouth, there's still a curfew. It seems like these might add up. Is that fast food? Don't scare me like that. Oh my God, it's gone! Oh no! Chat, I don't like supernatural stuff. Why you guys said it's a ghost girl? It's gone! I should have stayed home. What the fuck?
At first, Brian casually points out that there's a child standing at the balcony window. Oddly, the little girl is standing perfectly still. In fact, she is so still that viewers chatting in his live stream think that it might be a statue. Some even jokingly suggest that it's a little ghost girl.
It could be a statue. Someone just could have came up, grabbed it, walked away. Possibly. Possibly.
So, Brian pans his camera around and looks over. To his horror, he discovers that the little girl has mysteriously disappeared. Now, just like in the previous videos, I'm not necessarily saying that this is a paranormal event caught on camera. It might simply be that the girl, who doesn't move and appears to be completely unresponsive to her surroundings, maybe she just ran off when Brian was distracted. But Brian's reaction to the odd disappearance seems very sincere. He actually seems a bit shook.
Is that fast food? Don't scare me like that. Oh my God, it's gone! Oh no! Chat, I don't like supernatural stuff. Why you guys said it's a ghost girl? It's gone! I should have stayed home.
But, as with the other videos, I leave it up to you to decide. If you see a video that you think would be perfect for the top 5, or if you have a ghost hunting channel and you
I think it was probably just a statue and somebody moved it. I mean, he was looking out that window for a long time, talking. He might not have heard somebody walk up. They just walked up, grabbed it, walked away.
Last week, I featured creepy footage of the terrifying haunting at the home of Mary Therese Pagay.
Verify the client's identity and provide...
I remember this.
Ano ito?
Sige pa, sige na.
I remember this. No one could fit in that closet. I remember this.
1, 2, 3, go. Now that I have introduced myself to the patient...
Together with her brother, Mary was recording a nursing instructional video as part of her education. when suddenly the two got the scare of a lifetime. Since the horrifying events, Mary has been unable to sleep inside her own room. But after the overwhelming support of Nuke's Top 5 viewers, she decided to set up a night vision CCTV camera to record any evidence that might explain the scary incident. One night, just after midnight, her camera captures something truly bizarre. An eerie smoke-like mist floats by and an electric fan in Mary's room turns on by itself. Her curtains move on their own and a bright orb appears right before the electric fan turns itself off again. Mary says that earlier that day her camera caught even more unexplained footage. Terrifying activity in her home, Mary says she thought long and hard about what could have possibly triggered the apparent haunting. There's only one recent event that she can think of that could be the cause of the sudden paranormal activity. You see, earlier this month, Mary and her boyfriend were on their way home when they witnessed a terrible traffic accident. Mary's boyfriend is an emergency medical responder and immediately rushed to the victim, who had severe critical injuries. Sadly, it was too late, and the man didn't survive. Mary believes that the spirit of the victim just might have followed her home. Now, before this next clip, it should be noted that Mary has shown the inside of her small closet in a previous video, and there really isn't much room for anyone or
anything else. That closet, the reason why that closet is haunted is because it's so cram-packed full of stuff. It's like manifesting spirits to take stuff out of it.
anything in there. But days later, when she checks her bedroom CCTV footage, what she finds is downright terrifying.
To a new place, buy a chainsaw, because they're not going to mess with you if you got a chainsaw. Or E, all the above.
In Mary's family home, something still lives here. A paranormal investigation team from the YouTube channel RC Fun TV travels to an abandoned house in Battambang, Cambodia. Locals claim that in 1994, the land used to be a graveyard for hundreds of deceased men, women, and children. Eventually, the land was sold and the owner had the cemetery excavated and the bodies burned to make room for his new family home. Shortly after the completion of the house, allegedly several members of the family were repeatedly pulled out of their beds by an invisible force. Soon after, the family began to suffer.
If you dug me up and set my body on fire, I would drag you out the bed and then throw you out the window onto a chainsaw. A bed of chainsaws. They brought it on themselves. They did. They did.
From horrible, unexplained diseases. Fearing that they were cursed by the angry spirits of the former graveyard, they left the home and never returned. The small wooden house has now been abandoned for over 10 years. The Cambodian paranormal team prepares a ceremonial offering for the restless spirits that might be haunting the home. During the preparation, they are interrupted by something they can't explain.
Okay, ប្រិមិត្ត ឥឡូវនេះយើងបានរៀបចំសំណែននៅចំពីមុខកម្មវិធីតែម្ដងបាទកម្មវិធីតែផ្លូវនេះយើងឡើងអត់បានទេតែទីទៀតយើងនឹងឡើងតាមប្រួយក្រោយបាទយើងឡើងតាមប្រួយក្រោយឥឡូវអូនលើកទូទៅកូនចៅមកនេះគឺមកសុំថតបាទមកសុំថតហើយចង់ដឹងថាមូលហេតុអ្វីបានជាម្ចាស់ផ្ទះមិននៅទីនេះគាត់នៅមិនសុខបាទគាត់នៅមិនបានឬក៏មានអ្វីនៅទីនេះមានអីហ្នឹងគឺសុំឃើញបាទគឺសុំឃើញណាយ៉ាជួយយ៉ានេះនោះអូយគឺមក
The unexpected loud bang sends the host of the RC Fun TV team into a fit of nervous laughter, but they continue their exploration. The team is a little reluctant to climb the rotting wood stairs of the house and instead head around to the back of the building and climb onto the roof. What happens next is downright chilling.
Okay, ប្រិយមិត្តឥឡូវនេះយើងឲ្យក្រុមការងារបងឡើងណាក្រុមការងារពីរនាក់ឡើងទៅស្មើស្មើដើម្បីសម្លងវិញ្ញាណណាបើយើងចង់ដឹងថាតើដល់ទីនោះយើងអាចនឹងប្រទេសអ្វីបងឈីឡើងហ្នឹងហើយឡើងតោគ្នាគ្នាបាទតោគ្នាហ្នឹងបងនេះជន់អាហ្នឹងឈើទូចបងជន់នៅទីកណ្ដាលនេះក្នុងបាទហ្នឹងហើយ
It's a no. Oh God. That would have scared the mess out of me. Oh, being on an old rickety, ratty roof, and then I'm like, no.
One of the team members comes face to face with a ghoulish, pale apparition peeking out of the window. Out of shock, both team members forget their own safety and just jump right off the side of the roof. Luckily, except for some scratches, bruises, and perhaps some deep psychological scars, the two men are otherwise okay. Now, cut to 2 months later, and the team returns, determined to explore inside the creepy house. During another ceremonial offering, they have no idea what their camera is capturing. Did you see it? The team is completely unaware that something seemed to walk by the window upstairs. After careful deliberation, the two men decide to climb the rotten stairs up to the house. Once inside, they see something absolutely horrifying. In an incredibly bizarre turn, a disembodied head can be seen sitting on top of a wooden support beam. The team's host records as he runs away in fright. When the guys go back upstairs, there are no signs of the head, nor are there any signs of anyone or anything having ever been there. So did the investigators capture the paranormal activity that drove away the home's owners?
I would not go there. Couldn't. Maybe for like $500,000, I would go there and walk around the outside of the house and then immediately leave and go to a church and get blessed. But no.
Or is it all just an elaborate hoax? You decide. You can watch this full 2-part investigation over on the YouTube channel RC Fun TV. Knock, knock. Over the course of a couple of months, a series of strange events began to occur in several states in Malaysia. People began to report that someone had knocked at their door very late at night, but when they went to answer, there was no one there. Rumors spread throughout the countryside that the incidents were somehow related to the supernatural. And strangest of all, this odd occurrence wasn't just reported by one person, but multiple people across completely different states, spanning a large section of the country.
There's nothing out there. Like you could see outside. There's a car right here, and you can see the reflection of the couch. Like if someone was close enough to that to make it rattle, you would be able to see them. It's well lit.
Now, at first the story might just seem like an odd couple of videos, but no. These incidents were widely reported. In fact, the story got so much attention that it even made it into Malaysian print and TV news. But this bizarre story of supposed ghosts knocking on doors in Malaysia took an even stranger turn just last month. You see, residents of the neighboring country of the Philippines recently started reporting very similar terrifying experiences. Strange knocks on their door late at night. But this time, the late night knocks were blamed on a very different but equally bizarre cause. Eyewitnesses claimed that the knocks were from gangs of dangerous cult members who go house to house with the intention of hurting anyone foolish enough to open the door. Again, there were multiple reports around the province of Misamis Occidental in the Philippines. Videos circulated online of armed men roaming the streets looking for the cult members, but they never found anyone. And it gets even weirder, because some eyewitnesses claim that these cult members had strange supernatural powers and could actually disappear and reappear at will.
Lu mau lagi sunang konhit. Yun, wala no.
The reports were taken so seriously that the Philippine National Police conducted an extensive investigation. But the alleged dangerous cult members were never found. Likewise in Malaysia, no one ever found an explanation for the strange late-night knocks on the doors. So, the question remains, just what is going on in Southeast Asia with these strange reports of supernatural late-night knocking? And are the incidents in Malaysia and the Philippines related? Maybe we'll just never know. Thanks for watching. Follow me on Instagram here. Follow me on Twitter.
Be wicked if no. That's no. All right. So I think that's where we're going to call it quits for this time around. Yeah. Yeah. There was some relatively creepy stuff in there. And then some that were just weird. Alright, but all in all, if you enjoy the scary, creepy, spooky, or weird, go ahead, hit the subscribe button because that is what is on this channel. And if you want to know when more videos are up, hit that bell because it's going to let you know when this beautiful face and more scary videos are coming your way. So as always, be good to each other. I'll see you in the next one. Have a spooktacular time.